This is the Albuquerque Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week, we interview leading local business leaders to inspire the vision and spirit that is in every entrepreneur, discussing strengths, weakness, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together to fulfill a shared vision of a new future for Albuquerque.
Hi, my name is Jason Rigby, and welcome to the Albuquerque Business Podcast. Today on our show, we have two very special guests. I don't want to give it away, but we are going to be talking about Albuquerque small business and how to find a mentor and many other things. This podcast has been brought to you by 99.9 The Beat FM. If you live in the Albuquerque area, don't hesitate to tune in to 99.9 FM. We also want to thank Duke City Marketing. It is the latest state-of-the-art digital marketing agency here in Albuquerque, and it is www.dukecitymarketing.com. Well, today on the show, we have two very special guests. We have Stephanie Skaggs. Hello, Stephanie.
Hi there. How are you?
Good, good. And then we also have Peter Mikelson.
Hi there. How are you?
And Peter, you're the district director of SCORE.
In New Mexico, yes.
In New Mexico. And Stephanie, you're I have it right here as the director of volunteer resources.
That is correct.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to start with you, Stephanie. Will you describe a little bit about what SCORE is an organization and what it can do for small business here in Albuquerque?
Sure. So SCORE is actually a national organization with a local chapter. And in our district is Santa Fe, Albuquerque, Las Cruces, and El Paso. And SCORE is a nonprofit organization that provides small business mentoring and educational resources to small business owners, basically through the startup phase, the growth phase, and even through succession planning. And we provide all kinds of online resources as well as live information for small business owners in order to help them succeed.
Oh, perfect. And Peter, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I would just add that we are a statewide organization, and I'm responsible for the chapters in Santa Fe, Las Cruces, and Albuquerque, as well as El Paso, which is nearby. And together we have over 100 volunteers. We're all volunteers. And we provide the services that Stephanie mentioned. And in addition, here in Albuquerque, we offer what we call business owners councils, which are monthly visits among a small group of people who maintain a relationship with each other and support each other as they wrestle with their business decisions. And they are captained or chaired by a SCORE volunteer.
Now, do they Peter, do they come to the business, or do you go there, or how does that work?
Well, it's actually in two parts. The SCORE volunteer meets each of the businesses on its own premises as a rule to prepare for the session that's coming next, to prepare the owner to present an issue that he's dealing with currently that he'd like some input on. And then monthly, they tend to meet in a rotating basis at one of the businesses, and each person gets an allotted time to explain his challenge, and they respond with ideas that may help him sort out his priorities or get clarity as to what he really needs to accomplish.
Yeah, that would be amazing to be able to have that free hands-on right there live.
Well, you can't always talk to your banker or even your wife about
Right.
some of the problems that you have, and what better than to talk to your peers who are in the same position?
That's set up through SCORE?
It is, yeah.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
perfect.
We have about 6 of them right now. Isn't that right, Stephanie?
Yeah, that's correct. And the nice thing is that, yeah, as a small business owner, it can often be a lonely world because, your spouse is sick and tired of hearing about your business, and you don't want to talk to your employees, of course, about challenges that you might be having. And so it's a great confidential format to be able to talk about business issues that you have with peers that are probably going through the same sorts of things.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I know one of the things that when I looked on your website, one of the main things that I saw and something that has helped me tremendously as being a business owner. Before we get into mentorship, I kind of want, Stephanie, now you had businesses here because both of you are volunteers.
We are volunteers, yeah.
And SCORE is an all
volunteer,
all
except
volunteer
a very small
organization.
staff in the D.C. area.
Oh, okay,
About
perfect.
25 people.
And you own businesses in the past?
I did, yeah. I've owned 12 different businesses here in Albuquerque over about a 20-year time span. So I had a lot of business experience, and, I was at the point where I had done very well and able to retire early, but I felt, I want to be able to give back. And I had a lot of experience and expertise that I could share, and hopefully another business owner could get some value out of that.
Well, I've had a checkered background. You could say I've worked for a very large organization. I've worked for a well-established smaller business. And I've owned two businesses of my own that were kind of connected. I did marketing consulting for a while, and then I added web design and web development
perfect.
before I totally retired.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, because one of the things that I noticed with SCORE, and I want to get into this a little bit, is the mentorship side of things. You know, because like a lot of times you can get coaching or you can go online and you got to pay $500 to $5,000 a month, you know, to get somebody to mentor. What is the cost of your guys' mentorship?
Our mentoring is free. Yes, I said F-R-E-E.
That's what I love, yeah.
It is free.
And it's for as long as you want it. Our tagline is for the life of your business, and that's what we mean. So it's available for as long as people can get value.
How would the process go if there's a small business owner listening to this right now and they wanted to go, Stephanie, do they go to the website and apply, or how does it work?
That's probably the best thing to do. Our local website, albuquerque.score.org, and there is a button there that you can push to find a mentor, and you sign up there. You give your information as well as maybe a little bit about what issue that you're trying to deal with a mentor, because the way that it works is that each of our mentors has a different background, a different expertise, you know, a different skill set that they would offer to a mentee. And so we like to be able to pair that mentee with the appropriate mentor. So if they can describe a little bit about what their challenge is or their question, then we can pair them with the right mentor.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So, because one of the things that helped me in my business, especially, is being able to have somebody that I can call or talk to. Because like you said, your spouse, partner, if you go to dinner all the time and all you're doing is discussing your business, we all know how.
Right.
Other things suffer.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
You lose friends easily. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you guys saw that political campaign commercial down in Texas. It went viral, but basically they even filmed it on, I think, with an iPhone or something like that, but it's got millions and millions of views on YouTube. But he literally had his wife narrate, and he's like, look at him, look at what he's doing. All he does is talk about city politics. So he's at the grill and he's just talking and talking and talking. And she's like, please elect him so he can get out of the house.
There you go.
It's like a
right.
funny,
yeah.
So I think mentoring, you know, just to be able to bounce ideas or talk. Now, how does SCORE approach mentoring? What is the philosophy with it?
Well, I'm glad you asked, because it turns out not to be a simple thing. I've spent 10 years doing it, and I'm still learning how to do it effectively. But essentially, we offer a short training for any new volunteers in a system that we call SLATE. The first of those letters stands for stop. Don't rattle on about your career. Listen to the person. That's number 2, SL, listen. And then A might be ask questions, you know, try to get more. Then you want to do T, which could be a tip or a task. Maybe there's a suggested behavior that they might want to encourage or at least ask about. And then E is encourage. The last thing we want to do is to have them go away less prepared than they were when they arrived. So it's a process of listening and learning and probing around. We don't tell people what to do, or at least in good practice we don't. But we do offer them suggestions and give them alternatives or things they might not have thought of. I've had many clients say, you know, you helped me keep from making mistakes. And that can be valuable.
Mm-hmm. What are some of the things that you're seeing, like trends? Because you've done this over 10 years. Do you do mentoring too?
I do. Yeah, I'm a certified mentor as well.
Oh, okay, perfect. Mm-hmm. What are we'll start with you, Stephanie. What are some of the things that you're seeing here, especially here in Albuquerque, people that are coming in having issues with?
Well, it turns out that a lot of them in one of my business areas, which is business financing, certainly people I think are not just now, but always have been looking for capital. You know, either to start a business, how do I get money to start my business? Or, you know, I'm trying to grow, but I need capital in order to do that. So we offer something called a business financing advisory group, where a business owner can come to this group, either if they're trying to get a loan or if they're seeking investors, and we can be like that sounding board. They can present their loan package, or they can present their pitch. They're looking for investors in a safe way that they can find out if there's any like holes in their thinking before they actually get in front of a loan officer or an investor. So it's kind of a good preparation for that process.
And Peter, what have you seen?
Well, my background, as I said before, is marketing. So one of the things that we actually emphasize in our current practice is what's called a business model canvas. And in that are a few cells, or let's say sections of a one-page business plan, where you can identify some hypotheses about what's going to happen in your business and then go out and test them. And the lead in all of this really is, do you know your customer? Do you know how to find your customer? And are you prepared to find a way to differentiate yourself so that the customer is inclined to go for your service or product rather than someone else's? So we emphasize a lot of getting in front of people, testing the marketplace before you go in with both feet. In practice, I have said for 10 years, it used to be the case that people would come in with a £1 business plan. or want to make a 1 pound business plan. And now the emphasis is all the way on the other way. Go out and test and see if you have something worth pursuing. Then you can put all the bells and whistles in your business plan. But you need to know if it's not quite right, you need to maybe pivot and take a different path before you get really committed.
Yeah, and I think that's wise advice because so many people get so emotional in it and they don't understand that, on a technical side, the market may not even be ready for it yet.
Exactly. And we've learned, well, not just we, but a lot of studies have shown that of all the things that can affect the success of a small business, timing is one of the most important. And, you can be on the wrong end of a business cycle or you could be on the wrong end of a trend. And despite your best efforts, circumstances are going to make it really tough.
Yeah, I had somebody tell me the other day about the breweries that we have. And so they're like, well, we've got so many of them, too many of them. And I said, you haven't gone to Seattle or Portland yet.
Exactly.
There's one literally on every corner.
Right.
Everybody kind of finds their own little niche in that direction. So, Stephanie, I want to talk a little bit about the workshops that you guys have because you went into finance. I know as a business owner, that's something that I hate to, I'm that entrepreneurial type that
Right.
wants to go forward and move.
Right.
I don't want to sit there and look at QuickBooks all day long. Can you tell a little bit about maybe someone doesn't want to go down there or whatever? What do you guys have available online?
Well, so we have both in-person as well as online educational opportunities. We have workshops that are once a month over a whole host of topics that are relevant to small business owners. And the way that we set up our local workshop program is by what are the questions that our clients are coming to us to get advice about? And can we develop a workshop around those answers? Because if they're similar questions from a lot of different clients, obviously it's something that we could address in a workshop format so that they could get some additional learning about that. The other thing is that SCORE National, as I mentioned, we're a local chapter of a national organization, but SCORE National has a huge, in fact, we're probably the largest library of online resources that are available. Everything from tax planning, business plans, financial projection templates, and you name it, there is probably something on the SCORE National website, which is score.org, that deals with just all topics that are of interest to small business owners. And all of those resources are, again, free.
That's amazing. Yeah, I went on there and I saw the pre-recorded. They even have pre-recorded webinars.
They do, yes.
You can watch that, and then it has big buttons. You won't miss. It says marketing, accounting.
Absolutely.
And so that's an amazing resource. You could even be sitting at home 12 o'clock at night on your laptop and watch them.
And there's podcasts on there too.
Oh, that's awesome. Love it. So let's get a little bit, if you don't mind, into specifically like what you guys do to help businesses. And then I want to start off first, Peter, because you showed me something earlier about how you've helped businesses and monetarily.
Okay, well, let me explain first of all that we have an annual survey of our clients conducted by Price Waterhouse. And we're pretty well liked. So we get a really awesome response rate, north of 15% typically. And the average client that's in business might get 2 or 3%. So a lot of people feel good about SCORE. A few of the questions have to do with how SCORE helped, including did you hire anyone? Is your business more profitable as a result? Or did you in fact start the business you talked about? So in a national sense, last year, 2018, SCORE across the nation helped start over 32,000 businesses.
Wow.
And over 100,000 new non-owner jobs were created, and 135,000 total jobs were created. We're a nation of really small businesses, not just small, but a lot of one-person businesses, at-home businesses. So SCORE is particularly, I guess, not focused, but we get a lot of small business clients that are either startups or just getting started, and a lot of them are really, really small. Now, we are supported by Congress. There is a grant through the Small Business Administration to SCORE that is annually renewed. And we always tell our congressmen that it's money well spent because we create a job for about $47.
Wow, that's amazing.
Typically, that's going to run...
I wonder what an average program is. Probably 47,000.
Well, the state of New Mexico, it works out to be a lot more. But as you well know, our small business resource centers are state and federally supported. They're around the state. There are, I think, 19 of them around the state. And they also do what we do. but they are paid employees. So you can see right away that it's a benefit to be a volunteer organization because that's free
Right,
to the government.
exactly. The overhead is
Exactly.
The overhead's really low.
I mean, there's
That's
a
right.
paid staff that in the Virginia area that supports the whole program, but there's over 10,000 volunteers across the country that do mentoring and education to small businesses, and that's why it's really such a huge bang for the buck
Right.
because of the the huge network and people that are out there doing this endeavor.
And
But
we were
have it-
talking earlier, Stephanie, about small businesses here in New Mexico,
Right? Yeah.
and they're kind of like the how did you
Engine of
say?
economy.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
small business is the engine of economy here in New Mexico. And I think that a lot of people have the misconception that because we have two large national labs here, Intel is here, our public schools employs a lot of people, that they think that, we're just really taken from the government. But that's not true. Small business is the engine of the economy here in New Mexico, as well as other states. But essentially, 65% of our workforce are employed by small businesses, not the labs, not Intel. So it really is the engine of the economy here in New Mexico.
That's crazy. And you had something?
Well, I was going to add that SCORE is not in this alone. Although we've been doing it since 1974 in New Mexico, there are also close alliances now with other SBA partners, such as the Small Business Resource Centers, and also WEST, which is a women's business center by the definition of the SBA, as well as Veterans Business Outreach Center, which does a tremendous amount of work with veterans. And we work with all of these organizations and the SBA so that we can offer even more resources. And we've been really successful lately in working together with these other organizations. Currently, for instance, we are located at one of our offices at the Montoya campus of the CNM, and we are currently teaching their Ignite program, which is another great free service for small businesses or startups, depending on where they are. We do 2 courses a year. Currently, we are doing startups. So we have 9 startup businesses getting a 13-week series of classes and learning how to make their pitch to investors.
That's awesome. And would they sign up through CNM on that, or they sign up
Yes.
through?
They'd sign up for
perfect.
CNM.
SCORE also publicizes
But we'll
that
publicize
too.
it for sure. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
So there'll
perfect.
be a new cohort in the fall.
I want to make sure I get this out there to everybody so they can go and look. What's the website? Is there a local website?
We
for
do. Our
Albuquerque?
local Albuquerque website is albuquerque.score.org.
Okay.
And the national is just score.org. But
Oh, okay. And either one of them have
Yeah.
references to the
Yeah.
pre-recordings or...
Yes.
all of this, the online resources are available at score.org. If you're interested in our local workshops, albuquerque.score.org is a good place to find our listing of all of our workshops and our sessions. We have a couple of other free things that are helpful in the business financing area and also in the marketing area. It's a question and answer, Ask the Experts, where we have a panel of experts either in financing or in marketing, and people can basically come for an hour and ask questions of these experts. So it's a
Oh,
great
wow, that's
value
amazing,
for
yeah.
people to spend time, with a marketing expert, and they get to, hear the best wisdom that's out there, for example, in marketing or business financing. And those sessions are all listed on our website.
Yeah, that would be... I mean, just that alone, that hour, the amount of wisdom that you could get.
Absolutely.
And we have a lot of partnerships, as I mentioned already, but we get a lot of support from local experts that are not SCORE volunteers, but just donate their time to and their expertise for such things as this.
What if somebody's out there, maybe they're a successful CEO, CFO, whatever it may be, and they started out and they're doing really well, and they're listening to this, and they feel like this may be something where they want to get into mentoring? How does that
Absolutely.
process work?
So it's the same process going to our website. There's actually a tab on there that they can say volunteer, and they put their information in there, and then we contact them. We do all the training for how to be a mentor, as Peter said. So, it's a great way to be able to give back to our local economy because, as I mentioned, small business is the engine of our economy. So if we want our community to flourish, being able to give back to small business is a huge input to that.
And it's not just giving back, but you always get so much more.
Oh, I can totally attest to that. I mean, being a mentor is probably the funnest thing that I do during the day. I get to meet some really great people, and just the passion and the dedication that they have and that they, bring to me is wonderful. I definitely feel like I get more than I give.
Yeah, and you've been doing it for 10 years.
I have. I recently heard from one of my, let's call them graduates. She is very successful in creating educational training programs and has been doing so for a number of years now, but she was seeking some support when she got started and has really blossomed. She's doing multiple states. She has clients all over the place and is just doing fantastic. And of course, that's the great reward is when you hear about the success of your clients and you feel like maybe you helped.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. We're going to take a break real quick. Once again, these resources are all free, and you can go to their website. We just mentioned that. We're going to mention it again. I want to get a little bit more into the stories, if we could, with the people that have been helped here past the break.
Join us this week for another episode of the Albuquerque Business Podcast with your host, Jason Rigby. Each week, he interviews leading local business leaders that inspire the vision and spirit in every entrepreneur, discussing strengths, weakness, strategies, systems, and the problems we can all solve together to fulfill a shared vision of a new future for Albuquerque. Listen or download this Sunday afternoon at 4 from your favorite podcasting app.
And we're back with the Albuquerque Business Podcast we have Peter Mikelson. Did I say your last name right?
It's
Peter?
Mikelson, but
Mikelson,
no
I'm sorry,
worries.
yeah.
Don't worry.
And you're the district director for SCORE. We had been talking about that the previous. And then I have Stephanie Skaggs, and you're for volunteers, the director for volunteers.
Correct.
And we're going to get into that a little bit because I'm going to push on my audience. If they haven't volunteered for anything, we get so busy, I think, and Stephanie, you can talk to this. We get so busy, I think, being entrepreneurs that we tend to want to take, and we don't give back.
Exactly. And, a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we learn so much along that journey. And to be able to just, be the sounding board for another individual is hugely helpful and hugely rewarding for us as individuals. And the other thing to keep in mind is that volunteering with SCORE is a little bit different than, say, volunteering at Roadrunner Food Bank or at the Animal Humane or some of these other places where, it's more of a mindless, not necessarily mindless, but, you don't necessarily have to have a talent for sorting cans or, petting animals or whatever. So the reason that I volunteered with SCORE is because I had a set of, expertise that I had developed over my career. And I thought, well, what can I do with this that would benefit other people? So it's really using my talent base and using my skill set and helping other people with that. In addition, it helps me to keep my skill set honed because, even though now I'm retired, I wasn't when I started, but I am now retired, that, I still have to keep up on understanding business financing and understanding what marketing tools are available and understanding customer discovery. So all of those things that go into business, I get to keep my skill set honed by helping mentoring other people in that.
That's awesome. And Peter, you were talking earlier about you work with a Lutheran organization?
Yes, it's called Lutheran Family Services, and it is an organization that is actually part of an organization headquartered in Colorado that exists to help refugees who have come to the country, our country, as political refugees, meaning that they were in danger of losing their lives in their home country due to their service with the United States. For instance, we had a gentleman last year who was on the security detail at the Kabul U.S. Embassy. And he had to basically repatriate to America in order to be safe. And he is currently quite successful with a mobile mechanics business.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love to hear those stories like that. And I know we could go one after the other on that. And then you were talking about something with 9 years ago.
9 years ago. Well, yes, I've been a SCORE volunteer for nearly 10. It'll be 10 years in May. And I was actually brought on by a friend whom I had originally recommended SCORE to when he retired. And he said, now it's your turn. So one of the early experiences I had was working with a seasoned veteran mentor. And we got a client who came to us for advice on how to expand a business rather quickly because it was a software business that was engaged in creating tableside ordering software and back office or kitchen support software for the restaurant industry. As I had done in my previous work, quite a bit of work with distributors, I was able to give him some good information on how to find and negotiate with distributors. At the time, the company had 3 employees, and I was talking to the third of them. Now they are quite well known in Albuquerque, and their chairman has decided to keep the business here, and that would be Post Lavu.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. Yeah. And I know each of you have stories after stories. I want to get a little bit about what it means to be a volunteer. And I'm going to ask you, Stephanie, what makes a good volunteer?
Well, I think the first and foremost quality of a good volunteer is to want to give back and want to, be able to help somebody else and really put that hand to let them reach it and help them to be pulled up. So it's really a lot of that is just, using your skill set, but essentially wanting to help people for the betterment of everybody. Because when you help a small business owner, you're not only helping them, but you're helping our entire community.
That's so good.
That's really a lot of it. It's just, wanting to be able to give back and to help other people. So I think that's probably the first and foremost quality of a good volunteer.
And do you guys, like I said, you can go online, and so maybe somebody's thinking, I really don't want to make a commitment. I'm so busy, and I'm running this company, or I'm doing this. It sounds interesting, but I haven't made. Is there a way where they can talk to somebody for 30 minutes or 45 minutes? How does that work without making that full commitment?
Absolutely. So in order to investigate being a volunteer with us, really the first step is to go onto our website and hit the volunteer button and just sign up. And then somebody will give that person a conversation over the phone typically or in person. Identify, what are you trying to get out of this? What do you want to do? What kind of commitment do you want to have? I mean, the nice thing about SCORE right now is we're really trying to expand the way that people can volunteer with our organization. So you can do, for example, just email mentoring, where somebody emails in a question, you can respond that way. We do video mentoring. So if you don't want to leave your office,
right,
but you want to be able to mentor somebody, you can do it by video or even by the telephone. It may be that you only have 1 hour a month, that you want to have a very specific type of mentoring exchange with somebody if you have a very specific expertise, for example. So you could say that I want to be a subject matter expert for this particular area that I have a business knowledge, and you can be brought in by another mentor just specifically to answer questions on those expertise. So the beauty about SCORE right now is we're trying to evolve with technology. We're trying to embrace, younger generation, because there's a lot of young people now that are starting businesses. And so, we would like to be able to match them with a younger volunteer as well.
Right.
And so that would be really helpful. And so, essentially it really is, if you have a passion to give back, we can match you, hour for hour, depending on what that is.
Yeah, and it's amazing. I was looking online a couple days ago, and there's an 8-year-old that unboxed toys on YouTube, and he makes like $30 million or something like that.
Right.
So there, and I'm surprised here in Albuquerque. I was talking with someone the other day, and they moved out of. I'm gonna have them on the show. They moved out of New Mexico, but they missed the food.
Oh.
So they it's a young couple. So they started this business about where you could get a monthly box subscription. We take it for granted, but you hear that a lot when somebody moves out of. My daughter recently moved to Wyoming. She's like, can you send me some green chili? But it's so funny how, and then there's those monthly subscription boxes that everybody's into. So, business is evolving. And I know you probably see that too.
Well, that's true. And I was going to add to Stephanie's list the benefit of keeping your skills sharp by learning from your client. That's another great thing about being a mentor, is that you learn just as much as you may enrich the client. I learned about a young man who was actually an immigrant from France, 25 years old. He has a business where he helps manufacturers sell online, and all he asks is a discount so that he can sell it too. And the first year in business, he grossed $750,000.
Yeah.
I didn't help him do that. He was already there, right? But he taught me a lot about how you can run a business using 40 different applications on the web and be completely virtual.
Yeah, there's a lot of. Oh, go ahead, Stephanie.
I was going to say, people have a hesitancy sometimes when they say, well, I don't know how to be a mentor. I don't really know what to say, or I don't know what to do. I don't really know how to teach or whatever. The thing about it is that SCORE trains you in how to be a mentor. So if you don't feel like you have the skill set to know what to do as a mentor, we train you, become a certified mentor. So if that is still something that you might be interested in, but you have a hesitancy, check us out. There's probably a way that you can help us, can give back to the community, and we can certainly help you to do that.
That's the number one thing that your organization needs. And Peter, you were talking about something about the SBA. Can you explain that a little bit?
I certainly can. I mentioned that we are a chartered nonprofit, a 501c3, and we're chartered by Congress through the Small Business Administration. The Small Business Administration supports small businesses by providing loan guarantees to lenders. So that's really Stephanie's department, but I'll just say that a lot of times businesses don't have quite the credit profile that a bank would like, but the bank would be willing to extend credit if they can be assured that they'll get some of the money back in the case of a default. So that's one of the primary functions of SBA these days. And we are a resource partner, as I said before, along with West and SBDC, VBOC, Veterans Business Outreach Center. We are working together now in a coordinated way to help the SBA fulfill its mission. And we are probably the largest number of people in that group, although we are not the highest paid since it's free.
No, that makes sense there. And I'm going to kind of veer off a little bit. I was in the Marine Corps. So what is there's a veterans organization?
There is. Actually, the current director in New Mexico for SBA, John Garcia, is a huge supporter of veterans. He has probably done more to start veterans organizations than any man alive. And he is extremely, how should I say this? He's extremely interested in finding ways to help businesses that are veteran-owned and to help veterans start businesses. So we are very much on that page with him. Many of our volunteers are veterans, and we have in the past taught classes strictly for veterans, which are now being done by the Veterans Business Outreach Center. But we still support them at their annual conference, and so yeah, it's a big deal.
I interviewed somebody here recently, and they owned a business. They were retiring from, Kirkland.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's sad to see they're like, well, we bought a house here. We love the weather, but they feel like there's not an opportunity here. So being able to have an organization that could come in like yours or any of these and be able to help these veterans out, especially when because I know this is coming out of the Marine Corps, there was nothing. It's kind of like, okay, here's your DD-14. Adios.
See you later.
So, and a lot of these veterans, that's why I encourage people to hire veterans. If you own a business and you want a great employee that will work, hire a veteran. It's one of the best investments that you'll make when you're looking for someone. So now if, let's say somebody's listening to this or they have a family member that's fixing to retire the military and they're wanting to start a business, they could come to you guys free.
Absolutely.
And then go through that process of, because people don't realize, and I know you guys see this all the time, solopreneurs is a thing. You can make, like you said, that one guy was making $750,000
all on his own. Yeah.
I own a digital marketing company, and I have a lot of people that, I'll farm out work to or whatever, and they're one lady that lives in Austin, Texas, that does Facebook ads.
Right.
And that's all she does, and she's an expert in that arena.
Right.
And she's a stay-at-home mom. So, do you guys help people in that scenario? Like if they own a business and haven't started yet and maybe they're looking at going in that direction?
Absolutely, yeah. We actually mentor a lot of startup from the idea, the conception phase, to identifying customer discovery. They need financing, whatever it is, all aspects of the business from, like I said, startup to making money and generating revenue and growing, and then succession planning if you're trying to get out of the business then at the end of the career.
And you guys are wanting younger people.
We do.
So if somebody's 21, 22, and they're wanting to start a business and they're entrepreneurial and they have everything on track, you guys are willing to step in and mentor them.
Absolutely, yeah. We don't discriminate on any basis of age, gender, preference, nothing like that. We are very inclusive organization and want to help any small business owner at any phase of the business for the life of the business. And we're looking for volunteers that are younger as well, because it would be great to be able to match a client who is going to be starting a small business with a volunteer, a mentor who has gone through that path.
Right. Yeah, and we're getting all these tech companies here in Albuquerque. I just interviewed the CEO of RS21, and I know they volunteer some of their time and stuff. There's a couple functions that they have with that, but he's actually paying people to move back to Albuquerque to help with, this big data and this tech that they have. And that demographic is all, 20s and 30s with tremendous amounts of knowledge on the digital side of things. And, those are the type of people that could easily volunteer and help you.
Absolutely,
Totally,
yeah.
yeah.
And there is a lot of opportunities still here in New Mexico. I know some people boo-hoo that, but there really is, and there's not as much competition as other places, so it's a good place to start a business.
And all you millennials out there, you love to volunteer, so this is a great organization to volunteer with. We were looking at a study the other day, and they were talking about, on millennial side of things, having a purpose where they work at.
Right.
That's more important to them than just making money. I mean, if you don't have that purpose, being able to mentor somebody else, that right there alone will give you that purpose to be able to, especially if you're an expert, don't be selfish that way. Give to the community.
And the other thing is that if you want to help our organization but don't want to mentor, there's still opportunities.
Right.
Because, we're sort of like a small business ourselves here in Albuquerque, and we have a lot of back office stuff, so to speak, that still needs to be done. And we have volunteers that do that. Our director of marketing is a volunteer, and she does just exactly like what a small business director of marketing would do in terms of getting the word out about our organization, like she would a small business.
As a matter of fact, we believe in walking the walk so that we earn our money. We do get some from SBA, but probably, 80%, 75% of our budget is earned by us. We do charge a small fee for workshops. That's one way. We also ask for donations from our business owner councils, and we also apply for grants. So there are, as Stephanie said, there are lots of work roles that don't involve mentoring that we could certainly take advantage of if anyone wanted to donate some time. Love to have a full-time fundraising expert, for instance. That would be awesome.
That would. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they were talking about that, just to be able to have the HR side of things and the system set up.
Correct.
In place and all that, in your business. Well, let's get into, we got to wrap it up here pretty soon, but I want to ask you guys, because you guys have been doing this, you're experts in the community here. What do you think businesses in Albuquerque are struggling with now? We'll start with you, Stephanie.
I think that businesses in Albuquerque are struggling with trying to find their niche a lot of times. It's, and that's pretty much the way it is across the country. They may have a great idea. They're not sure exactly how to make that work if they're a startup, which is where we can come in and help them to identify, the best business model, the best business idea, the best ways of going out there and reaching their customers. So I think that, it's kind of finding their niche and trying to make something work. Capital is certainly one side of it that people struggle with. There's a lot of money in New Mexico. Banks are loaning. There's venture capital funds that are available. So I think that people have the misconception that there's a lot of things that could hold a small business back. But in reality, if you have the right mindset and mentality, then there's a lot of opportunity here in our state as well.
And I always tell people, why would you do it alone?
Absolutely.
You guys have the resources, you have the ability. What do you think businesses are struggling with?
Well, I'm going to throw a little bit of a curve here. We all know how people complain that people don't realize New Mexico's a state. I've had this happen to me. I tried to do a mail order from Boston one time, and the operator said, we don't export to Mexico. Well, there's the other side to that, and that is that New Mexicans are not really great at exporting. They need to look beyond New Mexico at opportunities in neighboring states, the rest of the nation, and the rest of the world. All too often, it seems like it's just too hard. Well, as a matter of fact, there are lots of resources to help you export, and we have in our office a full-time gentleman that works as part of SBDC to do just that. So if that's holding you back, that's another reason to visit SCORE.
So exporting, like in the sense of, it's funny, I've gone to Denver and they advertise for green chili. Is it exporting like that? Like if somebody
like
has a
that?
product, or?
Yes. Now, I did have a client one time who was working very hard to brand New Mexican chili. I don't know how successful he's been, but that was his mission. Not only did he want to support the growers, but he also wanted to brand it so that we would get a little bit more visibility. And that sort of effort we could really use so that we get known out there.
Right. And you said you have somebody like full-time?
There is a gentleman that is co-officed with us at the Montoya campus that works out of, he is an adjunct to the port down at Santa Teresa. Oh, shout out to Jerry Pacheco, by the way. I've known him since I started at SCORE. He's our biggest advocate for trade in New Mexico.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good. Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask one more question, and then we'll go. Stephanie, what is the future of SCORE in Albuquerque?
The future of SCORE in Albuquerque is really bright. We have an excellent team of volunteers right now. We've got a lot of creative thinkers that are trying to come up with great programs and ways of serving our small business community. We've got volunteers that are from a lot of different diverse backgrounds and experiences. So we have a lot to offer in just about every area that you can imagine of business. So I think in terms of the future of SCORE, it's really bright. And there's a lot of talent that are just waiting to help small business owners here in our community.
And Peter, you're the director, so.
So I can say that the health of SCORE goes beyond Albuquerque. We have very active chapters in Santa Fe and Las Cruces, and of course our partner city there in El Paso. All of us are growing and making more and more connections with other economic development organizations in our communities. And on the whole, we are poised to grow more. Quite frankly, we are all organizationally sound. We are sufficiently funded to do whatever we can think of to do. And if anything's holding us back, it's the creativity to see what other ways we could help.
I love that. Well, that's all for today's episode of Albuquerque Business Podcast. I want to thank you for listening, and thank you, Stephanie and Peter, for joining me today and sharing about SCORE in Albuquerque. And Stephanie, what is the website again?
Albuquerque.score.org.
Are you guys on any social media like Facebook?
We're on Facebook. It's SCORE Mentors Albuquerque. We're on LinkedIn. Yeah, so check us out. You can get the social handles there on our website as well.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you guys. And don't miss an episode at abqpodcast.com. You can go to our new website. We'd love to have you subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, any of those, your favorite ones that you listen to. Please don't hesitate to subscribe so that we can have you. And if you know someone that's interested on coming on the podcast, you can go to abqpodcast.com and put an invitation in. We'd love to be able to have you on this podcast.
Thank you for joining us on the Albuquerque Business Podcast. And thank you to our sponsor, DukeCityMarketing.com. Please go to abqpodcast.com where you can get show notes, resources, and links to everything we talked about today to help you navigate your journey as an entrepreneur and business owner in Albuquerque.